بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد. We say, may Allah Azza wa Jal put barakah, put blessings in this morning for all of us, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Obviously, when we make dua to Allah, we don't say inshallah, we just make dua. A common mistake that many of us make: when somebody makes dua, they say inshallah. And we know that the Prophet ﷺ, he informed us, لِيَعْزِمْ أَحْدُكُمُ الْمَسْأَلَةِ. He said that when you make dua, you should be resolved. You should have, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, you should have the resolve. And you're asking that Allah is going to answer your dua. Because no one can force Allah to do something. Where you say, oh Allah, Allahumma ghfirli in shit. Allah, forgive me if you will. Forgive me if you wish. When you pray to Allah, you say, Ameen. And if you're saying, inshallah, you have a good day, we'll have the barakah, inshallah. That's one thing. Asking Allah for one thing and saying it like that is a bit different. So praying for Allah to give us barakah in our day, that's one thing. We say, Ameen. And if we just say, inshallah, everyone's well. Inshallah, you're doing good. Inshallah, everyone's fine. Inshallah, we'll have a good day. Inshallah, that's a different story. By the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So therefore, we ask Allah to give us barakah in this morning. To all of the Muslims and all of the Hadith disciples, the different time zones. Maybe some of the brothers and sisters are watching in the UK or in other parts of the world, maybe a different time right now. It may not necessarily be the morning, maybe not. But those who are on our time, Eastern time, we ask Allah for a morning of barakah on a day which is very important and very symbolic in the life of the Muslim. And that is the day which is called Al-Jumu'ah. The day which is called Al-Jumu'ah. Now, in general, it's well known to all of the Muslims the virtue of the day of Jumu'ah. In general. And there's not a Muslim who's totally, bi'idhnillah, who's totally far and just totally heedless from Jumu'ah being a special day. That's well known. Even to non-Muslims, it's well known. Many Christians, some of our grandparents, fathers, some of our siblings, co-workers, they'll equate to Jumu'ah to their Sunday, their holy day, their day of service, their day of congregation, etc. So the point I'm trying to get to is there aren't too many Muslims that are totally blind from the fact that Jumu'ah is a special day. That's one level. But the next level is much deeper than just knowledge. And that is acknowledgement, recognition, and remembrance. I know something, but is it on my mind? Is it on my mind? Am I actually thinking about how special Jumu'ah is before Jumu'ah and after Jumu'ah and during Jumu'ah? How special of a day it is and how symbolic of a day it is. And then we have, on top of knowing it, on top of acknowledging it, on top of remembering it, we have the concept of benefiting from what we believe and what we know and what we acknowledge. And that is the thamara. That's the actual fruit. That Jumu'ah is a special day. It's not like any day. It's a symbolic day. A tremendously important day. So what am I going to do to honor that day? And obviously, if you wish to honor something, then you can't just do it during the day. But it has to come before as well. And obviously, when you honor something, you have to honor it after as well. A special day is preparation that's made before. And it's also something that's done and reflecting and recapping on it after that day has passed, after that day has gone, let alone during the actual day itself. I think this is the catalyst, this is the critical pinnacle right here that most Muslims, most of us fall short in. And that is actually squeezing all of the juice, all of the benefits from Jumu'ah and physical deeds and practice. When it comes to how we treat ourselves, how we treat our family members, our children, our wives, our husbands, how we treat those who are beneath us, those who are above us, those who are our colleagues, when it comes to the fruits of Jumu'ah. Now, another problem behind this is not necessarily the lack of reflection, it's not necessarily the lack of remembrance or the lack of knowledge, but oftentimes it's by the khatib himself. With regards to not giving the people the necessary sermon, the necessary khutbah that's inappropriate, khutbah that's above their heads, a khutbah that's totally agenda-based, a khutbah in which the imam or the khatib doesn't have the necessary skills, the necessary abilities, the necessary talents, or the necessary know-how to give the people what they need to give. And that's why the people of knowledge, they have explained that the khutbah has adab and it has ahkam. Khairan, inshallah. Speaking about the khutbah, going to the khutbah, the salah, working, eating with your family, is Jumu'ah and Eid, that's a very long discussion. And that's a class in itself, a series of classes in itself. What we want to do right now, today, right here, bidhnillah, we want to shed light upon is some of the reasons why Jumu'ah is so special. And some of the reasons why Jumu'ah is so symbolic. And why it is so paramount in the week of the Muslim and in the month of the Muslim. And bidhnillah ta'ala, our philosophy is, the more you know, the easier it is to remember. The easier it is to remind yourself and easier it is to remind others. And our philosophy is, the more that you remember and reflect, and the more you allow other people, you encourage other people to reflect, it is, inshallah ta'ala, going to produce action. It's going to be easier and more likely for you to act upon it. Now, you may have knowledge, may Allah protect us all, and not implement it. That's possible among us in abundance. That's not possible, that's actual, it's factual among us. May Allah help us all. But your chances, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, of deliverance from Allah's wrath is automatically easier, inshallah. You have an easier chance. You have higher odds as far as you just being totally ignorant and not knowing. And the more of a thing that you know, the more respect you should have for that thing. The more veneration you should have for a thing because of the ilm that you have. Khairan, inshallah ta'ala. So we're going to talk about some of the reasons why Al-Jumu'ah is so special and it is so symbolic. First and foremost is the name Jumu'ah. What's the proper pronunciation of this term, Jumu'ah? Some people, they say, especially here in America, I don't know about the UK or Australia or Canada, they say Jumu'ah. I'm going to Jumu'ah. I'm going to Jumu'ah. Okay? And some people, they say, I'm going to Jumu'ah. I'm going to Jumu'ah. Now, obviously, everyone isn't walking around Sibawayh. Everyone isn't a master of the Arabic language. Everyone isn't a master poet or a master grammarian of Lugha al-Arabiyyah. Of course not. There are levels. However, there are some people that can pronounce it correctly, but they just don't know the proper pronunciation. They don't understand the proper way of saying how to go to this place, this service, this ritual. All right? So, what is the proper way of pronouncing this word? And secondly is, what are some of the other ways that you can say the word? Because the more you know of a thing, the more special it becomes. Reading from Fathul-Baari, some of the fawaid of Fathul-Baari. We have Al-Mujallad al-Thani, volume 2, page 353. Al-Hafidh ibn Hajar, rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, Al-Jumu'ah بضم الميم على المشهور وقد تسكن وقرأ بها الأعمش وحكى الواحدي عن القراء أو القراء فتحها وحكى الزجاج الكسر أيضا. He says Al-Jumu'ah, the well-known pronunciation, the lugha, the specific style of reciting it and reading it is with a Jumu'ah, with a dhamma vowel sound on the jim, a dhamma vowel sound on the mim, Jumu, and obviously the ayn has a fatha because it comes before termabuta. And any letter that comes before the termabuta is always going to have a fatha on it. It's a very good principle with regards to basics of the Arabic language. So you say Al-Jumu'ah, Al-Jumu'ah. And obviously whenever there's a termabuta, jim, mim, ayn, ta, it's going to be short. And it's never going to be Jumu'ah. As many people, they say Al-Jumu'ah, Al-Jumu'ah. So obviously, my Arabic is not as good as yours. My tongue is not as acquainted and accustomed to it, but I can actually try. And even if I can't do it, it's still a benefit in knowing it. It's still a what? A benefit in knowing something. Even if you can't do it, it's still a benefit in knowing it. He says, so that's the well-known way of reading or saying the word Jumu'ah. Others, when they recited the Quran, some Qurra, they made a sukoon on the meme, and they said Jum'ah, Jum'ah. Jumu'ah. That's not the well-known lugha. Al-Jumu'ah, with a sukoon on the meme. He then says, and some of them said, Al-Jumu'ah, with the fatha vowel sound on the meme. Jumu'ah. And then some of them, they even put a kasra. Jumi'ah. But the well-known way is with a dhamma on the meme. What's the fa'idah and the purpose of this? Is the goal to show you and to show us all how deep the actual word is. Whatever the ulama of Islam have different styles and ways of reciting it and saying it, it proves how old and ancient that word is and how deep it is. Now that's just the word, okay? And the ways of pronouncing and saying what? The actual word. We see here none of the pronunciations is what many people say. I'm going to Jumu'ah, okay? Or Juma. Juma. Now obviously you have to fear Allah to the best of our ability, as we said. Arabic isn't our first language. That's not an issue. But we're talking about those who what? Who can say it properly. They should know how to say it properly. And that's a very important point as well in our Islam. Is that oftentimes someone will come and they'll say, Akhi, don't say these things to the people. It's too difficult. Everybody's not a student of knowledge. Everybody didn't go overseas. We don't disagree with that. But we can strive for perfection. We can what? We can strive for perfection. Khairan, inshaAllah ta'ala. Ibn Hajar rahimahullah ta'ala, he then says, moving on to the point in which he says, وَاخْتُلِفَ فِي سَبَبِ تَسْمِيَتِهِ بِذَلِكَ مع الاتفاق على أنه كان يسمى في الجاهلية العروبة بفتح العين المهملة وضم الراء وبالموحدة فقيل سمي بذلك لأن كمال الخلاق جمع فيه وقيل لأن خلق آدم جمع فيه وهذا أصح الأقوال. Summarizing the fa'idah, he says here, the ulama of Islam, they differ on why Jumu'ah is called Jumu'ah. Why is this day called Jumu'ah? What is the purpose of Jumu'ah? Now, when we have these three letters, Jim, Mim, Ain, it means something. And it's also with regards to learning Arabic language. Jim, Mim, Ain. When these three letters are put together, it has a basic meaning, and that is gathering, some type of unity, some type of congregation, some type of smudging together, putting together, piling together, one way or another, whether it's physical, metaphysical, a lot, a little, some type of gathering together when these three letters are put together. So the day is called Jumu'ah. Whether you're a Christian Arab, a Jewish Arab, or an Arabian Jew, an Arabian Christian, however you wish to word it, the day is always going to be called Jumu'ah. But what is the symbolicism behind it in the Islamic sense of Jumu'ah? Why is it called that? He says the ulama of Islam, they have different views on why it's called Jumu'ah. Even though all of them agree that during the days of Jahiliyyah, the time before Islam, the days of ignorance, it was called Al-Aruba. They called it the day of Aruba. The day was called Aruba and it wasn't called Jumu'ah. And that's a major fa'idah to show us that in Islam, Islam is not just a concept of faith, but it's a concept of culture. It's a concept of practice. It's a concept of ritual. And what you say, days of the week, months, times, concepts, your mindset is supposed to be Islamic as well. It's supposed to be Islamic as well. And this is one of the biggest struggles that we're going to find here in the United States and overseas as well. With regards to the clash of Deen and culture. Is there a clash between the two? Can you have your own specific culture and also your Deen as a Muslim? Is there a balance? Is it relative? Or is it just absolute, one of the two? Deen, culture. Another very important question is, which comes first? Culture then Deen? Or Deen then culture? Or the true Muslim is just what? One. And which a person Islamifies his culture. Now, we live in the era in which everybody is free to speak and open to speak and to talk and to explain and express their view and their opinion, whether it be on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, in the masjid, wherever you go. And that's a good thing, and it's also a very bad thing. So oftentimes we hear that Islam has nothing to do with your culture at all. You covering your head, you wearing a beard, eating with your right hand, is all culture. That's Arab culture. That's nothing to do with the deen. Mutlaqan. Or some people say the hijab is cultural. Absolutely cultural. Mutlaqan. Speaking Arabic, you shouldn't speak Arabic at all. There's no point in saying anything in Arabic. Don't even say the khutbah in Arabic. Why even reading from a book? People don't speak Arabic. Some people have said this. There's no point in you saying that. There's no point in you quoting the chain of narration. It's of no benefit. And I'm not talking about layman people. I'm talking people that are supposed to be educated Islamically. They say these things and have these views. And then you have some people who have the opposite understanding or the other direction, in which they say, what? Everything has to be Arabic. Everything has to be Arabian. Everything has to be Middle Eastern. There's no such thing as your culture. You get rid of every piece of article, every food, every dress, every statement that you have of your original culture. We have right wing and then we have left wing. And as a wise man once told me, he said, I beware. He says, I'm cautious of both right wing and left wing because they belong to the same bird. They what? They belong to the same bird. The bird has two wings. So what is the balance with regards to the deen and with regards to the culture? What's important is reading here from the words of Al-Hafiz bin Hajar rahimahullah ta'ala. It shows us that it's much more than just left wing or right wing. It's much more than just in my heart. It's deeper than that. And the Prophet ﷺ, he changed certain things. And he abolished certain things that was from the culture of his people. And he didn't allow them to keep saying this and keep doing this, whether it was negative and bad, or whether he just gave them something that was better. Something that was just more positive, that was more thorough. Al-Hafiz bin Hajar rahimahullah ta'ala, he then says, some ulama, they say it's called Jumu'ah because it's the day in which all of the creation was gathered. Allah gathered all of the things that he made when he placed on the earth. Everybody understand this? We know that the heavens and the earth were created in 6 days. And Allah tells us about the different stages of the creation of the heavens and the earth. وَالْأَرْضَ بَعْدَ ذَلِكَ دَحَاهَا. Allah says, and afterwards he put the things on the earth. Allah created the earth, and then a time came when he placed things on the earth. The trees, the rivers, the mountains, and the things like this. So he's saying that some of the ulama say it's called Jumu'ah because all the living things that Allah wished to put on the earth and bring into existence, he gathered them on that day. Coming from the letters Jim, Mim, Ayn, together. So this goes to show you right here how old or how deep the concept of Jumu'ah is. It's a major day, a symbolic day. It's not just a simple day. You go and you pray and you get up, you leave. You put on nice clothes, you eat, and you go back home or go back to work. It's deeper than that. And also, if Allah gathered all the created beings on that day, then what is the case with regards to resurrection on that day? And that great phenomena of all of these living beings being brought into existence and all of these living beings be going out of existence and dying, passing away, and when everything is established. He then says here, and others they say, وَقِيلَ لِأَنَّ خَلْقَ آدَمْ جُمِعَ فِيهِ. They say that this was the day in which Adam alayhi salatu salam, his creation, the khalq of Adam, was completed. That he was made on this day, alayhi salam, and the completion of creation was made on this day. So stop and you think about it now. How many people don't accept Islam because they say, my ancestors weren't Muslims. Or some of them, they may say, my ancestors were forced to be Muslims. Just like the people were forced to be Christians in America, some of them who came from Africa, some will say, my ancestors were forced to be Muslims in Africa. They were forced to be Muslims when they were enslaved in Arabia or any other place. So I'm going back to the original foundation of my ancestors, which was polytheist, shirk. Whatever name is given to those religions or cultures or customs from West Africa or any other part of the world. And they would be talking about the Far East, some people who live in Yemen or Persia, Iraq, Iran, they may say, Islam, the Muslims were invaders to my land. They invaded Persia. They took over. They conquered. But my forefathers were originally people who worshiped the fire. They were Majus, Zoroastrians, all right? Or those who are Muslims and do say, La ilaha Muhammad Rasulullah, they won't follow the Sunnah. They won't practice what they're supposed to practice because of their ancestors. And we know that one of the strongest tides that pulls a person from submitting to the Deen is the concept of ancestry. Why did Quraysh reject Muhammad? Why did his uncle die without saying La ilaha illallah except for ancestry? And the concept of shaming his ancestors, even though he was about to die. وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ, Allah says, and when it is said to them, when they're asked, when they're told, follow, listen, obey what Allah has sent down. The first thing they say is what? My forefathers, my grandmother. You talk to your mother now, your grandmother now. You talk about Islam. You show them physically what Islam is and what Islam has done for you as a person, how it changed your life, and how it's continuing to change other people's lives. Say, wow, our family was always Christian. That's a new thing. You learned in jail. That's a new thing you heard from the TV. That's a new thing that you got brainwashed and caught up in. But your family was Christian. You were baptized. Your ancestors were Christians, were Baptists, so on and so on and so forth. And the list goes on, whether it's an American thing or an Arab thing or a Turkish thing. My ancestors used to make this dua. What do you mean it's a bid'ah? My ancestors used to have this amulet. My ancestors used to have this good luck charm, an Islamic good luck charm. What do you mean it's a bid'ah? My ancestors were practicing this before Ibn Abdul Wahhab even came. And so on and so on and so forth. So when we start talking about ancestors, if you want to talk about ancestors, let's go back to the original ancestor, Adam alayhi salam. This is something that everybody can agree on, the people who believe in Adam alayhi salam, as far as if you reject Adam or you have another aqeedah or another understanding, then that's a different story. But those who do, we're talking about the Muslims and the Christians, you say, who's the first ancestor? Who's our forefather? The black, the white, the yellow, and the red. It's Adam, the first man, the original man created. What was he upon? What was his deen? What was his religion? You can't say Christianity. That's just illogical. That's irrational, illogical. You can't say that. So someone is going to say, we don't know what Adam's religion was. Possible. Or you're going to say, we know that Adam was a Muslim. How do you know that? That was Allah. How many years ago was that? Only God knows. Well, the Quran talks about it. The Hadith they talk about Adam giving the salam, being taught to say assalamu alaikum. Adam being taught certain things by Allah, and so on and so on and so forth. So someone say, well, that's not just the Quran, that's what your book. Okay, it's better than your book, isn't it? What does your book say about Adam? What information of detail do you have about the religion of Adam? I want to say the point. What's better? That which is vague, white, plain, blank, or something that has some type of color? Something that it may, okay, you're saying that it's inaccurate, but it's more than what you have in your deen about Adam. So our deen tells us Adam was a Muslim. His children were Muslims for years, for generations, before polytheism came, way before Christianity and the coming of Jesus and so on and so forth. Old Testament, New Testament, the list goes on. So if you want to get technical, Adam is the ancestor of what? Of us all. So let's go all the way back to the beginning and follow him. How was Adam created? When was he created? And what purpose was he created? To submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So let's stop the nonsense right there. Everybody understand this? So you tell yourself, your family, non-Muslim relatives, co-workers, this day is deeper than you can even think about. The day of Jumu'ah is much more than Muhammad and the people who came with Muhammad. The day of Jumu'ah is about the first man created. And it's a means of realizing and recognizing the greatness of Allah, the power of Allah, and to be symbolized in worship on this day. Everybody understand this? So just by you knowing this and what it means and where it comes from, you automatically should have a greater appreciation for that thing. Just like Christians, true Christians, real Christians, they say Christmas is not just about eggnog. It's not just about mistletoe and a 15-foot Christmas tree. It's not just about getting a gift and Santa Claus and the what's his name, Rudolph. There's the red nose. It's much deeper than that. You talk to a real Christian, a real religious Christian, you'll see sometimes they'll have the different ornaments, the different statues of what they believe the Virgin Mary and what they believe the miraculous birth of Jesus. Okay? You'll see this. You'll see some of the disciples of Jesus. You see some of the different things that they believe took place in Jerusalem, Bethlehem, wherever he was, and he was born. So the average consumer, Christmas is just a holiday. Get drunk, stuff your belly, spend, buy, make zina, have off of work and school. That's it. But Christians that have a bit more awareness and a bit more knowledge and a bit more sharpness, a bit more devotion, they know that Christmas is what? It's deeper than that. And it's not just one day. 12 days of Christmas. Birth, this, that. And it's major religious symbolicism. So Christians who know more about Christmas, they have a better appreciation for Christmas. And if they have a better appreciation for Christmas, then they should celebrate it greater in a more religious sense. Everybody understand this? And we're trying to make a parallel, nothing more, is that Jumu'ah cannot just become Christmas for us, and which is a day off. I put on my best clothes, I put on perfume and cologne, I go to the mosque, I eat lamb and rice, and I go, and that's it. But it has to be what? Deeper than that. That this day is of great historical value and importance. And that starts off with our human race. The first human, we believe, was Adam alayhi salatu wasalam. And he was someone that was created by Allah Azza wa Jal. And his creation, it was done, it was made, it was perfected, what? On this day. Al-Hafidh ibn Hajar rahimahullah ta'ala, he then says, وَهَذَا أَصَحُ الْأَقْوَالِ. He says, and this is the strongest view, that this is the reason why this day is called what? Jumu'ah. Let alone the concept of the Muslims congregating. The Muslims what? Congregating. And sitting at one time, listening to one khatib, sitting in rows, unified. And that's also very relative to Adam alayhi salatu wasalam. Adam was created and his offspring came forth of different personalities, different races, different colors, different heights, different weights, different dispositions, different appearances. And the same applies to Jumu'ah. Everyone has to come down and listen to the khatib. You're rich, I'm poor. You're tall, I'm short. You're big, I'm thin. You're knowledgeable, I'm ignorant. You're a male, this person's a female, so on and so on and so forth. Everybody has to do what? Sit down and listen to the sermon. And everyone needs to listen to the khutbah. The rich man needs to be reminded. The pauper needs to be reminded. The strong man needs to be reminded. The worker needs to be reminded. Everybody needs to be reminded. The husband, the wife, the father, the mother, the brother, the sister, everyone needs to hear the good dhikr. And everyone needs to get the hasanat and get the sayyat, the sins removed. Everyone needs the barakah of that day. Everybody. And this is something which is another manifestation of demolishing the class system in Islam. And racism and prejudice and colorism and tribalism. It doesn't matter where we come from, what we look like. We're all sitting down as Muslims. Just as Adam's children were all what? Muslims. And despite their colors and their tongues and this and that, they were all Muslims. And they were commanded with one command. To take shaitan as an enemy and to take Allah as their protector. Everybody understand this? And that's the 5 salat. And that's hajj. That's zakat. That's siyam. The pillars of Islam are meant to establish these values and to destroy those other values. I'm from north, you're from south. So I'm better than you. And you're less than me. Or you're from South Carolina, you're better than people in New York. People in New York are rude, hasty, dirty, stingy. They have no family morals, no family values, poor hospitality. They don't speak with each other, they're this and they're that. So you look at yourself as being better. You have Southern etiquette, and Northerners are Yankees. They have no etiquettes. That's not true. And even if it was true, Islam is meant to do what? Get rid of those cultural bonds and ties which prevent the people from actually becoming one. I'm from another state, you're from another state, but right now sitting on this green carpet, we're what? Brothers. We say, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Whether I say with a southern accent or a northern accent. Everybody understand this? And this is very unique. And it's not the same in other religions. It may be supposed to be like that, but as we say, what? The churches are clearly what? Separated. And that's sad when the Muslims become like that. And this is something which can be found. This is a Bosnian mosque. There's an African mosque. What is this? This is supposed to be a masjid, lillah. وَأَنَّ الْمَسَاجِدَ لِلَّهِ. The masjids are for Allah. Whoever wants to pray, whoever needs to come to the masjid is a Muslim, is a slave of Allah. And also male and what? Female. Something seriously wrong when a brother feels unwelcome in a masjid. And only Allah knows how many masjids are like that today. You don't feel comfortable, you don't feel welcome for whatever reason. That's unfortunate. So what I'm calling myself to and calling you guys to is to realize the deepness and the depth, the deep depth of Jumu'ah just from this one concept, thinking about our forefather and our ancestor. And we didn't even get into Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. When people talk about ancestors, my forefathers, all right, let's talk about Abraham, who's the forefather of the main religions and the main faiths. What was Abraham upon? Was he a Christian? What testament or what version of the Bible was around when Abraham existed? As Allah tells us in the Quran, the Torah, the Injil, these books were sent down what? After Abraham. So how are you going to say he was a Jew or a Christian? So they're going to say, well, he wasn't a Muslim then because the Quran came after Abraham. We say, hypothetically, you may be right with the same logic. The Torah, the Gospel, the Quran all came what? After Abraham. But the difference is that our Quran specifically tells us what? He was kana hanifan, musliman. He was hanif and he was Muslim. And he was ma kana min al-mushrikeen, was not from the polytheists. So this goes to show once again the virtue of detailed knowledge. Your book is too vague. Your scriptures are too vague. Even if they were authentic and they were not tampered with, they're what? They have no match of the detailed in-depth ilm that we have in our book. So mom, son, brother, common sense would tell you to do what? Follow it. But the sheer fact that it talks about your book in detail, talks about your prophet in detail, who's our prophet as well, but speaking to someone who isn't a Muslim. So let's ask the question, does the Bible talk about these things in detail? Obviously the answer is no. Muhammad borrowed from the other religions, they say. He borrowed from Christianity, Judaism, he borrowed from the pagans of Arabia, and he made a reckless, messy collage called it Islam. That doesn't make any sense. If the prophet just borrowed, then he wouldn't have abolished things and acknowledged other things. Or what about the things that are mentioned in the Quran that have not been mentioned in any of the scriptures, such as the offspring of Adam and the crow? Allah tells in Surah Al-Ma'idah about the ghurab, the crow. And the crow is not found in the Bible or the Gospel. It's not found in the Torah. And Allah tells about the story of that magnificent bird and how the bird taught him how to bury his what? Murdered brother. Read and study about the crow. How an amazing bird, what type of animal it is, and how intelligent the crow is. And also the congregational life of a crow, how they live as a community, as a ummah. Where did Muhammad get that from? Did he borrow that from the Bible? It's not mentioned in the Bible. So you're talking, once again, what? Irrationally. And when the moment you have this contradiction, this doesn't make sense, you're making this up, it proves that Ummi said to your mother, your grandmother, you just need to be a Muslim. You're fighting, you're going against the grain without what? Without purpose. You're running from the truth. Just submit. Submit to your Creator. It's just that simple. So we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to allow us to reflect on these words. And every time we go to Jumu'ah, every time we make a ghusl for Jumu'ah, we put on clothes, we come sit on the carpet, we do the khutbah, we think about how deep and how important this day is. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best. Jazakumullahu khairan for watching and for listening.